not often I find something that's phonetically too difficult for me to say, like rack kombucha.
I love that was recorded.
Yeah, I saw it.
There it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Adventures Kvasir. Oh my gosh. We are already off to an amazing start by trying to figure out the proper pronunciation of Ractagino and kombucha mixed together into one drink. So if anybody who is listening to this has any thoughts on that, please drop us a line. We'd love to know what you think. We have an amazing cast here tonight, a full complement of senior officers ready to do that thing that they do and be annoyed by the first officer to no end, because that's just what he does. So we are going to pick this up with... Everybody finished the conference in the conference room, which outside there are two ensigns. One of them is very eagerly awaiting everybody to come out so he can go clean. It's just kind of his thing. It's what he enjoys, really likes it. I do believe a plan of some sort was formulated, and I believe that plan was brought to light by Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi. So why don't you just kind of give us a very quick rundown of what that plan was, Amathi?
So Amathi's plan basically is going to work out as the following. He wants to open up a particular type of dimensional fold that's known as a geodesic fold, basically in the chronosphere of the red giant that is threatening to go supernova within a couple weeks' time, and essentially redirect a lot of the excess mass of the red giant into deep space, into basically the spaces in between various star systems and whatnot, in order to lessen the mass of the star of the red giant, so that it no longer goes supernova, and gives the planetary system that has one M-class planet on there a chance to essentially advance and continue to live their life unaltered. And the only reason why Amathi is honestly doing this at this point in time, or even made this recommendation, is that he is of the full belief that the only reason why this red giant is in the current state that it is because of us, and because of the subspace tears, and the fact of the matter that somehow or another we projected the entirety of our warp bubble around the entirety of the star system, causing temporal distortions and whatnot, and that this star system and whatnot would not be in the current state that it's in if it hadn't been for us. And nobody has convinced him otherwise that this is the case. So this is the plan that he has made in recommendation to the captain. And it appears to be that the captain is in favor of this, and his fellow nerdy individuals in the form of a chief engineer Davin and the tactical officer Kurik seems to be in favor of this, but they, we'll see how exactly that goes for the remainder of the session.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that recap. Now, with all of that being said, the meeting has concluded. Amathi had some work to do, some numbers to crunch and calculations to calculate. So you, I'm assuming, have headed back to your station on the bridge?
Correct. Basically, the moment that the captain's last order to him was basically double check, triple check, make sure that you have everything worked out so that there is, so that, we don't have any other issues or anything like that, and that this goes off as foolproof as we possibly can. And so Amathi is going to go back to his station, and essentially sit down with his calculations and work things out. So he will pretty much be in the zone. So unless somebody actually needs a Mafi for doing anything else, he's primarily going to concentrate on that.
Okay, perfect. Commander Galen, after the meeting, what did you do?
Probably would go over all of the information that we've collected so far, double check we're not missing anything, just being thorough. He's trying to make sure that we don't make any mistakes that will come back on us later. We are dangerously close to the edge of our rules, and we don't want to cross over because, well, frankly, none of us want to be court-martialed.
I mean, that sounds absolutely fair. Dr. K4, what have you done after this meeting?
I have a patient that is due to wake from sedation, so back to medical.
Beautiful. And Commander Davin, what have you done? What have you done? It's all in the tone.
Davin, per usual, is about to multitask a little bit. She's left the meeting. She's probably got one of her pads in hand. She's pulling some information because now Amathi has started giving her thoughts about other problems that are in existence, like the subspace tear issue. But she is actually headed to medical, just making sure to take, wander her way down because she wants to check in on her person that was, almost liquefied. So,
That is fair. That is fair.
even if it means an encounter with the doc.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. We kind of shift the momentum a little bit, and we head into the captain's ready room. Standing before the captain is Lieutenant Commander Sulak and Zek. Zek, with a somewhat worried expression on his face, but also fairly confident, which is pretty common among Ferengi, simply says to the captain, "And that is why you cannot allow them to touch my crates."
I don't. And you didn't. You know what? I think I will just say that I'm not saying that I'm against this in any way. And I know that Lieutenant, you're going to have plenty of your own thoughts, but I don't understand how could the Romulans be in agreement with this? This doesn't sound like a very strategically strong move. Why would they want something like that all the way out here? And she's going to look at the lieutenant kind of like trying not to start anything offensive, but she genuinely doesn't know what to say. You're muted.
Zek turns to look at him.
Unfortunately, Captain, it is safe to say that the Free States are in a bit of flux at the moment. Our only viable destination so far has been Vesta. We both know how that turned out. I don't see leadership having greenlit something like that without good reason. Unfortunately, I cannot speak for my people or their leadership.
You personally would approve of that sort of economic contract between your people and the Ferengi?
Were it up
Give
to
them
me,
that much power inside of your own territory?
were it up to me, and Kurik side eyes Zek. No.
Well, we haven't discovered a winner yet, and we have a plague sun tear problem that I would prefer we settle before we deal with deciding on how to go forward with this. But fine, we will not remove your crates. They can stay. I want actually for them to be properly inventoried. They need to be all accounted for, and then I would like security put on where they're stored.
Of course,
I would be so appreciative of that, Captain.
And I would be appreciative if the three of us are the only ones who know what's in them for the time being.
It is a need-to-know basis anyway, sir. I will do my due diligence.
All right. Now I'm going to start reading over the mountain of reports that I've gotten from today. I'm pretty sure they start with whatever happened while we were in the wormhole and end with just probably the 17th or 20th update from Amathi. So I have a lot of reading to do.
Of course, Captain. I'll leave you to it.
Zek, next time maybe like a note.
Indeed, Captain. My apologies.
Dismissed.
Thank you, Captain. Lieutenant Sulak, perhaps we could walk together down to the crates. I'd like to, if it is okay with you, regale you with a story that my great-great-uncle Quark once told me about Starfleet and its uncanny resemblance to a thing called root beer.
Kurik will grin after you.
The two of you proceed down to the crates. Let's cut real quick over to medical. Dr. K4, you arrive and you see your patient, one Mr. Reynolds, is doing much better. He's sitting up on the table getting just a quick tricorder scan by one of the nurses. Seems to be in good spirits. They're laughing and joking together as they scan. Actually, before I say anything more, I'm going to have you go ahead and make a roll real quick. What that roll is, I don't know. Allow me to open a character sheet real quick. Okay, so what I would like for you to roll is reason and command. Actually, insight and command.
$17 and $18.
Wow, all right. Despite being Vulcan and ex-Borg, you detect an uneasiness in his laugh as he sees you enter.
I'm going to approach somewhat obliquely and address the questions to the nurse regarding Scan's recovery.
Handing over the pad to you in pretty common fashion, she says, all of his vitals are normal. He's been in stable condition for about 8 hours. With your permission, he is able to return to duty if you find him so fit.
Mr. Reynolds, that is a glowing recommendation that you may be fit to return to duty.
Yes, doctor. Of course, it's whatever decision you make, I defer to it.
Do you have an opinion on the matter?
Anything to get me out of this bed, doctor.
Yes. I will check in with the chief engineer and verify whether Commander Davin would prefer your return to full duty immediately or after a break, which you may, of course, maintain in your own chambers.
I look forward to hearing from the commander. And almost uncannily, the door to medbay opens and in walks Commander Davin. Oh, Commander, we were just talking about you.
This is fortuitous.
Wow, you do good work, Doc. He's standing and in one piece and speaking already.
Yes, Commander. Scan showed that he is fully capable of a return to duty almost immediately. Though the incident was a trifle traumatic.
Very good. Anything else I should know, Doc?
She's going to look over at Reynolds as if asking permission.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I'm excited to get back to work. I'm ready. I'm ready to tear it up.
Actually, Ensign, it's good to see you enthusiastic and in one piece. I want you to take the rest of the day and tomorrow and be ready to work on the next shift after that.
But as you wish, Commander. Yep.
And I'll also be requesting that you get an evaluation from the counselor on board, just to make sure everything's okay, because that was pretty intense. I wouldn't expect someone to recover so quickly unless they were trying to run away from thinking about certain things.
I mean, yeah, whatever you think I need to do. Yeah. I mean, whatever gets me back to duty.
All right. You're dismissed, Ensign.
Thank you, Commander. Pops off the table and heads on out.
Thank you, Doc, for patching him up. I know you were just doing a thing, but You're one of the best I've seen.
Your gratitude is appreciated, however unnecessary.
I have heard many a time that perhaps we are a little too. Let's just say that's not the first time I've heard that. But yeah, everything working all right up here. Figure I might as well check before I go back to finding Amathi.
It seems to be. Would it be out of line to have a conversation with the Lieutenant Junior Grade?
He is very eager, very young, and sometimes forgets that certain scientific events also have other impacts. So while I don't believe he was being purposefully hurtful, I think perhaps someone should speak to him about how such events have personal impact for certain people. Yes. That was a very long way to yes, but
It is somewhat worrisome to me that a line officer did not recognize that he was causing discomfort in a crew member.
I don't quite remember the term for it, but he gets very focused on a track when he's on a particular research subject, and he will kind of like a train and will just keep on going down the track without regards to, any cars that have stopped along the way.
It would be a more forgivable lapse in someone like myself or like you, who are not directly within chain of command.
Well, I was going to talk to him. Did you want to do it as well, or you only think one of us should?
I am not certain it would have the desired effect from me.
I've got a few ideas, so I figure best to tell him now before he gets even further down the rabbit hole. I mean, he'll be okay, but it's going to be a little rough.
I imagine that there will be rough spots for most of us to iron out.
Yes. The other two postings that I have been on ships that I have been assigned, there's usually about, well, depends on the crew, but there's definitely a breaking in period that happens. It's a learning experience for everyone, I think. It's fortunate that most of us actually know each other in some respect, actually. It's kind of fascinating the way this was put together.
The only individual with whom I am familiar is the captain.
Yeah, the captain is a most recent acquaintance. She and I were on Starbase together a little while before I discovered she was putting together a crew, and I submitted my application. Lieutenant Sulak and I served in a previous posting together, and also were at the academy. Amathi has been a pen pal for a little while, and once upon a time I worked on some ships Galen was flying, and even helped them fly a little better. At least I like to think so. I'm not sure what he thinks, but so it's very interesting. They're a bright bunch. It'll be interesting to see how we work together.
It is an unusual conglomeration.
That is, I think, what they would call an understatement, Doc.
Probably a rather large one.
Yes. Yes, at least the size of that sun out there. But
Mr. Reynolds had to have some fairly thorough genetic manipulation treatment. The rest and recuperation period is probably warranted, as is a conversation with the counselor.
Yes, I'm basing this almost entirely on someone else very much like the ensign who wanted to return to duty right away and avoid thinking about the accident or the issue or the problem that occurred to them.
Do I know this individual? Should I send them to the counselor as well?
I'm not sure if it's helped, to be honest, but if Lieutenant Sulak ever gets injured, you might think about the same recommendation for him.
I will bear that in mind. Though his medical record is admirably clear.
Really?
Should you run into the lieutenant, I should also speak with him. I find I am curious about our detainee.
Yes, if I run into him, I'll convey that message. I don't think that detainee being in talking shape is in everyone's best interest. But you have a good time, Doc. I had better go find a Mothi. Better to rip the Band-Aid off, eh?
Actually, that tends to cause more damage.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that just Davin just and leaves because they can't hold it together. And she will go to the bridge wherever Amathi is, so feel free to elsewhere.
Awesome. So with the roles that I got from Amathi and Commander Jax. Sorry, I was reading something. Everything is calculating good. Everything is looking like it should. All the numbers are adding up. The ones are being carried. You think everything is in line to make your plan work. Now, Commander, as you are going through your calculations, and you're taking in like the different scans and signals and things, you notice that there is a variation in the sun, or the red giant, as we've been saying. It's basically emitting very, very subtle solar flares. And as soon as it begins to do this, which this is a new thing that it started to do, you get like information from the planet. It appears that these biomechanical solar panels have begun opening up all across the planet, but primarily on the side that is facing the sun. When those open, you suddenly detect billions of life signs below the planet's surface.
The previous impression was that the society that was on the planet was basically pre-industrial, so they couldn't have made those. I will take my data and go disturb the captain in her ready room.
All right, you proceed into the ready room, and what is he met with as he walks in?
K-pop music. You know what? Canon, yeah. And she's just going through the reports. I don't know why. That's the first thing that popped in.
Of the thousands of species across the universe, we went K-pop. A minute.
Is that Earth
Like
classical?
horses, Japanese bouncy music. I don't know Korean bouncy music.
Is that Earth classical?
Postmodern Earth classical, actually.
Oh. Captain, I've found something that's kind of disturbing on the planet. We should probably be aware of it.
More disturbing than the population dying like flies?
Well, that's a whole different conversation. And I'll bring up the scans that showed the biomechanical solar panels that were opening up on the planet.
You have found technology that is from a more advanced species on the planet?
And signs that there is billions of life forms inside the planet.
Are they the same people that are on the surface?
The people on the surface have a pre-industrial civilization. And this would require a level of knowledge of biology, physics, chemistry that these people just don't have.
We need to know what's going on this planet. Like, I think this is enough information to go on to warrant perhaps you taking a shuttle and someone to clarify if these are the same people, and if the ones down below are aware of the stuff going on above. Was there any communication lines when you detected this?
And nothing that came across. It looks like they opened automatically in response to the solar flares.
Like as if they were designed to react to what's going on with the sun?
Yeah.
All right. Feel free to get that data to the commander
Yeah.
and Amonthi. I'm
Will do.
pretty sure our engineer would be very interested in biomechanical solar technology.
Yeah, I'll get them all on board. We should probably at least get close enough to get some scans of the inhabitants so that we can make alterations to pass in case we get seen.
I'm not too concerned with being seen if we've got a culture that has schismed to choose to live as they are on the surface, but is in fact advanced down below.
Yeah, but we want to keep.
And I need to be certain that we don't have this plague murdering their population below as well.
Agreed. I will get everybody together and organize an away mission, I guess.
I defer to you for your judgment on who you would want with you. I know that if we're going to be focusing primarily on the issue with the disease, the doctor is going to need more information. And if they are in fact as advanced as that would seem, again, how do we not have this planet charted and known about by the Federation? This is so close. And I understand certain details, but that technology is a bit of a red flag for, hey, we should pay attention to this.
I agree. The one problem with taking the doctor is she is not exactly diplomatic. If we have to talk to people, we might want somebody who's a little friendlier.
Fair enough. I guess your option would be taking our engineer then.
I can do that, and maybe Amathi.
Sure, that is your call. You have fun.
He's a lot, I get that, but he's also really bright, and we're going to be examining unfamiliar technology. Having two good people at that would probably be useful.
Oh, he's a prodigy, and I would love to place bets on him versus some computer systems, but his excitability can create a lot of friction, so make sure you keep a tight leash and don't let him get too crazy, especially if he is talking to them. Hopefully there's no talking to them.
That would be my preference. I'll take a shuttle down and put us outside of any settlements and near one of these solar panels. That should give us at least some first-hand observations and something to work from. Maybe we can find a way down.
Prior to your discovery, were these solar flares in a danger at all?
I mean, most solar systems have solar flares. These started up relatively recently, and when they did, the panels opened up.
Interesting. All right, thank you, Commander.
Of course. I'll get started with your permission.
As soon as possible. I'd really like to actually get on with our real mission.
Yes, ma'am.
So I suppose this is our real mission, just a very strange version of it.
I suppose so. And he'll head out of the ready room, grumble a little bit under his breath as he's walking over to Amathi.
Computer
Amathi,
play, and then we have Ketchup Mania.
Amathi, I need to borrow you.
Amafi is currently at his console, basically like rapidly typing away. Not like Android fast, but fairly fast for a human for somebody. And he's just like, "What do you need me for, Commander?"
An away mission.
He kind of stops. He stops in mid typing, and he starts to vibrate a little bit.
I hand him the data pad with the images of the solar panels. You're going to be with me. And I'll tap the communicator. Commander Davin?
I'm right here, Commander Jax. As you turn halfway, and Davin has literally just entered the bridge.
Oh, good. We need to go to the shuttle bay.
What? Is there something wrong with the shuttle?
No, we're going down to the planet.
What?
Come on.
You want me off of the ship?
Unexplored technology, biomechanical solar panels. I need 2 brilliant science and engineering people.
I don't know how you know how to motivate me, but great, give me that pad, because I'm sure you've got something about what you're talking about on there. I will read and walk.
All right, and I'll make my way down to the shuttle bay with these 2 in tow.
Amafi basically kind of sits there for a brief moment before he actually they're starting to move, and then he's just like sitting there vibrating. Nobody's actually probably wouldn't have any idea of what exactly is going on in his mind in that moment. But then he finally kind of comes to and then sees that they're walking away, and he's like, wait, and then basically gets up and starts following after them. And he is essentially like, because I think Davin, you're a little bit you're shorter than Amafi is, because Amafi may be a short kitten, but he's not shorter than you, if I remember right.
I would be very shocked if he was shorter than 5'3", yes. Or 4, whatever.
So yeah, he will essentially be like on his tippy toes, like looking over Davin's shoulder at the data pad, because he didn't have a really good chance to like look at it, and essentially be like reading it, and just like he seems to be very excited.
And yeah, down to the shuttle bay with us.
All right. As the 3 of you proceed to the shuttle bay, we're going to actually kind of speed ahead of you. And in the shuttle bay, Lieutenant Sulak and Zek are in the bay. Zek has opened up all of the crates. There's a complement of other security officers there that Lieutenant Sulak has personally selected. And Zek turns and looks at him. So you see, Lieutenant, here is the things. All of the pieces of the puzzle. The puzzle that will enhance and possibly save your entire species.
I will be scanning, not like with the tricorder, but scanning what I can see as I walk by.
Kirk is going to be pad in hand, leaning over each of the crates, documenting the piece, closing the crate, moving down the line, making sure that everything is properly inventoried and that the pad does not leave his hand.
Zek comes over quite a bit closer to you, kind of looks around at all the security officers and where they're located and everything. And he says in a lowered voice, which is kind of uncharacteristic of a Ferengi, and says, "You have nothing to worry about. This plan will work flawlessly. It was designed by Professor Soon and Singh." Admiral Freeman is completely on board with this. And let's just say a few of your close friends, and he just kind of like taps his nose.
I see. And he closes the last of the crates, kind of sharply, but not enough that it would damage or jostle anything inside of the crate. Very well, then. It seems everything here is in order and accounted for.
I am so very happy that all of this is under your skilled domain. Your watchful eye will be most vigilant, I'm sure.
Yes. I'll have my best people on this. Night and day. We'll make sure that it stays well guarded.
Excellent. Now then, I believe I should take a drink to the captain. She seemed a little stressed out.
Of course. I have a few things to go over myself, but I'm sure if anyone needs me, they know how they can find me.
It's at this moment that our impromptu away team enters into the shuttle bay. And I believe if I heard correctly, Commander Jax, you were trying to do a little subtle tricorder sweep. Is that what I heard?
No, he's just watching. He's being attentive without actually going that far.
You're scanning with your special eyes. All right. So let's go ahead and have you roll a little. I wish they had something that was more like perception, you know. But let's go with daring and security. Just to see if like something is out of place.
I got a 14 and a 1.
All right. See, what you do notice is it seems pretty obvious that Zek is kind of being a little hush-hush about things. He's obviously omitting words, and there seems to be a lot of security down here for just a few crates. But they are all the crates themselves are brand new, like the mint condition. And it's at this point that Lieutenant Sulak, you see the away team. I mean, you don't know they're the away team, but there they are.
And he just kind of furrows his brow and looks at everybody like, why are all of you here?
We're doing an away mission.
Oh,
Davin will hold up the pad and kind of walk over because she needs to tell Sulak something anyways, and goes, apparently there's billions of people underneath in the planet. So and they've got these nifty little things that are opening up. It's a whole thing, apparently. Also,
Wow.
the doc wants to see your detainee at some point, so she'd asked me to pass that along.
I'll make sure to accompany her down to Brig, and we can further interview our guest.
Probably be for the best. But yes,
Kirk's
apparently
going to look at the pad, look at the information on the pad. Biomechanical solar arrays. This civilization is pre-industrial. This should be impossible.
but yet there's people under the crust, so you're gonna go figure out what the situation is. Apparently Commander Jax has decided that myself and Lieutenant Amathi are both the science brains and the, well, apparently friendly faces suitable enough for this.
Well, I'm sure we've already worked out what to do about the subspace tears.
I actually had an idea about that.
We should be checking to see if they're attracted to the warp core. Given how they were created, it would be rather disastrous if they caught up to us while the rest of you were on the planet.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Although, if I remember something that the Commander Geordi of the Enterprise once did, I think instead of having to eject the warp core to fix the tear, we might be able to use the quantum torpedoes to do it.
There was actually something that I'd been putting a bit of thought into myself. Coherent graviton pulse. I could modify some of the gravimetric mini torpedoes in the tier. It would produce the same effect.
The moment that Mafia hears this, he gets really excited. His tail gets brushed up a little bit, and he immediately bolts over there, kind of bouncing a little bit. And as he does, says, "Okay, so you're on the right track here, but this is exactly what it is that you need to do. All right, first off, you need to actually pull out one of the basically the subspace 0-point module for the actual quantum torpedoes, because that's the way how that the antimatter and the matter is actually stored. Fuel is stored in the actual quantum torpedoes, because we need the actual right amount of energy in actually order to feed into the graviton torpedo in order to produce the enough amount of energy in order to actually create the gravitational wave in order to actually properly collapse the subspace tear. Also, by the way, if we actually adjust our frequency, what?
Mathi, take a deep breath, please. Take a deep breath.
You also probably don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
I mean,
it's a rather simple modification. I can
actually, it's even better. Enterprise B, maiden flight, generated resonance bursts to act in the same way as a warp core draws subspace stairs. You can just fire it out of the deflector array.
Even better. Uses a replenishable resource. Just have to make sure they're calibrated enough to the magnitude.
Yeah.
That I should be able to handle.
But we should get going to the planet.
I'll get up to the bridge and begin the necessary calibrations to the deflector dish.
Beep. You can see Amathi hits a button on his data pad and says, "I sent you all my calculations. Have fun!"
Thank you. Do be safe, all of you.
What's the worst that could happen?
Beautiful. You all pile onto the shuttle. Are you taking Tyr down?
Yes, let's take the beefy shuttle down, please.
Yeah,
tested it.
Let's take the tiny warship down to a planet on a science mission. That's a great idea. All right.
Yeah, take the least subtle one. Yeah.
I mean, it does still look like a Federation runabout.
Yeah, there's nothing really different on the outside.
Okay. As I'm powering up the systems, by the way, can we maybe get rid of some of the unnecessary systems on this?
The instructions I got is that we're supposed to test it as is for a certain period of time and then make modifications afterwards.
And who came up with those instructions?
I believe they came through the captain. I don't know who she got them from. All I know is this is a prototype and we're supposed to be testing it. It's actually based on some of Amathi's designs, interestingly enough.
Yeah, we don't need a phased polaron beam on a runabout. Come on.
Wait, what? Wait, what? That's not part of my initial design.
No, with the threat of the Borg and other factors like the Dominion being a ever-present thing, they apparently want us to try to run a little bit heavy.
And by they, you mean...
The powers that be. Someone far above my pay grade and rank.
Uh-huh.
I designed this runabout to actually be like a hot rod for Jax because he likes to fly fast. I didn't mean to put weapons on this thing. What the hell?
And the gravimetric mini torpedoes? Whose idea was that?
Those are actually useful for scientific purposes.
Fair. Okay. And he sets up the thing, powers up. I'm going to go low energy on the approach so as to not trigger any sensors from whoever built those solar panels.
We're definitely going to need to make sure that... I'm actually hoping that they don't detect our actual sensor sweeps because depending on what kind of... If they have any detection equipment, they might actually detect us actually trying to scan them. So we'll definitely have to be very careful on that. I'll make the adjustments as we go.
The plan is to land near one of the objects and see if it has a access way down to the lower levels to see if we can find out what's going on. Away from the cities.
Yes, that would be a good plan.
Yeah.
Since we didn't do anything like, native costumes and all that rigmarole. I normally am not tapped for away missions, so let me tell you, this is like a first experience for me.
Well, I mean, you could have told me to get one of your junior people, but here you are.
Very intent.
Here you are indeed.
Besides,
So
I've got them everywhere else at the moment. So
fair. So to fly down and find a lovely little secretive landing spot that's great for landing and for ease of taking in the scenery and not being so hard on yourselves physically, I need a control and con roll from Commander Jax. And while he rolls that, Captain...
I do have a couple of relevant focuses here.
Heck yeah, I
One
as
or
a
two.
pilot, I would hope so. So Captain, Lieutenant Sulak, and Dr. K4, all of you receive a little chirp on your comm badges. This is the brig. I think I need some help down here.
On my way.
Acknowledged. And the captain would head to the brig.
Yep. Kirk is already on his way to the brig.
Okay. Doctor?
Is going to be very confused, but presume it's a medical emergency, so off we go.
The three of you will say arrive at the brig at roughly the same time. You're standing outside of the door as all three of you come in from different angles.
Considering the message, the captain would have grabbed her phaser.
Okay, seems appropriate.
Kirk would also have his phaser on him, but he's always got a cricket somewhere on him.
Doctor's got Borg hand at the ready.
I have tiny robots in my blood.
That's a good weapon.
Literally always armed.
Armed with an arm.
Armed. So the three of you enter, or you gonna make a plan of attack here? Like, do you want to talk to each other? What's up?
I suppose we're just gonna let the door open first. Since we had someone calm-ishly telling us to come quickly and not screaming bloody murder.
I mean, makes sense, right? The door opens, and inside you see the lone brig ensign standing in front of the holding cell that your liquefied friend's bucket was hanging out in. He has a look of panic on his face.
What's the problem, Ensign?
Well, so the prisoner was there, and now he's not.
The captain immediately points her phaser at the guard, the ensign.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
State your name, your rank, your number.
Oh, you would make me have to open that, wouldn't you?
And she's going to look at the doctor because she knows the doctor would immediately start to establish whether or not.
I don't even remember where I put that list. Devin, you're good about this stuff. Where's that hiding?
Yes, I can. I was reaching for my mute button. I know exactly where that list is. One moment. I totally didn't, like color code shift wise all of the people that Ray gave me into 3 shifts since we established we're a 3-shift ship. I totally did. Mm-hmm.
3-shift ship.
All right.
Yeah, like, because I have engineering's list, but I don't know where the master list went.
Here, let me. I downloaded a copy to my computer, so I can just send it to you. Yes, I am that anal retentive.
No, it's just I love that all I did was ask some guy's name, and it's just like, hold on, everybody, stop what you're doing.
Hold on, pause
Everybody,
the game.
this is important.
There you go.
Relevant information needed. Thank you very much. Oh, it does not. My computer doesn't like that. So we're just gonna say that he gives you the appropriate information.
Though our computer was recognizing the copy as just another of the original officers, so she's gonna kind of like make a face of like, well, that was right, and she's just gonna look to the doctor again. Can you establish if there's any changeling DNA?
I imagine the computer can run the scans, Captain. However, how would our guest have gotten out?
We don't even know how our guest got on this ship.
I mean, the cell had a field around it to prevent our guest from leaving. So if our guest is not in their cell, how did they get out?
I assume the same way they got on our ship.
At this point, Kirk would walk over to the control panel for the cells and
Turn it on.
punch in the same sequence that they used to polarize the hull, but this time polarize the cell.
Oh no.
Brutal, I love it.
K4's gonna look for like a drain, a practical.
Gabriel's like, maybe they're just pretending to be a chair and you didn't remember that there was a chair in there.
Well, polarizing the cell will.
God.
Yep. I mean, if he's in the cell, we'll find out. If he's not in the cell, we'll also find out.
Either way, we're finding out. Dr. K4, you do not see a drain. The cell polarizes, and the blanket that is tightly wrapped around the bed suddenly begins to vibrate and turn into a humanoid. Looks very similar to Odo.
At that
Turn it
point,
off.
I'm going to cut the polarization of the cell.
The changeling falls to the floor and kind of breathing heavily, just.
Now, are you finished?
I guess. Doesn't matter. Soon we're all going to be dead anyway.
Explain yourself, or I give you another taste.
What exactly would you like me to explain?
How are we going to be dead?
Because you did not turn around. All of the sabotage that I did, I was ordered to do.
By whom?
The Changeling Collective. I know it may not seem that way now, but we were trying to spare you a terrible, terrible fate in this quadrant.
We face terrible, terrible fates anywhere we go.
Have you ever faced a nightmare so terrifying that even the Borg shudder?
I'm sure they didn't shudder.
I promise you, dear Captain. Species 8472 is a nightmare unlike anything you've ever seen. And they have decided to move into the Gamma Quadrant.
I have read everything there has been from the Voyager's experience, and there was a modicum of diplomacy established with a portion of 8472. If there is a violent cell here in the Gamma Quadrant, we already have a weapon against them.
I hope for your sake you're right, Captain.
I would hope next time maybe you ask the Federation for help instead of blowing holes in subspace.
And exactly what help would your beloved Federation give us? The same help that they offered to the Romulans? The same help that they would give to the Jem'Hadar? The same help that they would give to the Borg?
Every situation has extenuating circumstances.
How convenient for the Federation.
You blame the limitations of time as well as the shortcomings of all of those people. Romulans have infighting. Jem'Hadar were created, not evolved. They are still trying to exist to themselves. That is not our fault. We just extend a hand. But if you don't ask us to extend a hand, we can't extend it.
Indeed. The same hand that would help us would be the same hand that hit us in the first place. How benevolent.
Hid you.
Yes, as I recall, it was the Federation that began the war in the first place. The war that displaced my people. We knew that your Federation would not accept our help. It is full of those who are distrusting.
Your people sought Cardassia for support. What does that say about your people? To seek the most ruthless.
Only because the Cardassians knew and saw through the feeble disguise that the Federation put on.
They're hundreds of years.
From what I have learned and what I've been told, the Federation knows no bounds and no time.
I don't know what you mean by time. I shudder myself to think that your people are considering temporal solutions when that would be dire on its own. Why?
Perhaps only in that regard are you correct, that we were foolhardy enough to think that we could harness such power when we were so weak.
You've tore holes in subspace, thrown us off course, placed us in an uncharted system with something impossible going on. And you thought, based on your apparent extensive knowledge of the Federation, that we were gonna go home? That checked out, you put that through a computer, it said yes. Really?
The ion storm, I had no control over. It was not my intention to strand you out here. It was simply to get you to turn back.
Well, you didn't get 21, so you're stuck with us. You bust. Would you like to try a new hand or keep pretending to be blankets? You could help us. Do you know anything about where we are?
I was born and raised here in the Gamma Quadrant. I know it quite well.
So you know of a planet with billions of people living beneath this surface? And apparently primitive beings living on the surface?
That I've never heard of before. No, I apologize.
Don't apologize. This is just the problem we are currently dealing with.
Why not to just leave? Is that not part of your directive?
It was when it was just primitive people. But your sabotage, as you call it, led to the holes in subspace in this system that we also have to deal with, which is part of Federation. And there seems to be an advanced race beneath this surface, which negates the first thing.
How certain are you that they are as advanced as you think?
How does a primitive species have biomechanical technology that is programmed to react to solar flares?
If it is reacting to a solar flare and is not activated manually, then perhaps they don't even know that it is technology in the first place.
Even if it was activated manually, that's advanced technology.
If it was placed there outside of their knowledge, they may not even know why it exists.
The surface.
Or that it came from some other place. They may just assume it came from the planet.
What are your expertise, and would you like to give us a name?
My expertise are chiefly in xenobiology. I do have a minor understanding of temporal anomalies, and with your permission, I would like to assist in correcting the temporal tears. It was not my intention to destroy the universe.
I would hope it's no one's intention to destroy the universe. How about that name?
My name.
Well, as much fun as I had when you were just a blob that nods, names are useful.
My name is Uto.
Uto. Well, Uto, you're going to be remaining in this cell, and I will allow you to help. You will be given censored information, only what you should need, and nothing more, no access to our computer. But if you are willing to help, we will take your expertise and input on said data.
Captain, I simply wanted you to turn back. I understand that actions, in your culture, that actions speak louder than words. And I will demonstrate to you that I do not mean you any further harm.
When we have dealt with all of this and are back continuing the mission we were set on, there will be contact with the Federation and most likely with the collective, and something will be done. You may have to be put to trial or put in detention, but there is a good chance that you will someday see your people again.
When that date comes, I look forward to that.
She's going to look at Kuruk and basically, like, you can increase, decrease, however you want to go about the security going forward. But we will not be using that method a third time. It would be inhumane. And I don't think, and she's going to look at the changeling, that Uto wants to experience it again. So I think we're good.
I think the message has been sent loud and clear, Captain. I don't see a need to continue using such methods. I'm sure Udo and I can come to a mutual understanding.
Is your desire limited only to the temporal tears?
I'm sorry, Doctor, what was that?
Is your desire to help limited only to the temporal tears?
No, my desire extends far beyond that. Despite my feelings of the Federation, I have a greater respect for life in general. Even life that is as hostile as species 8472. I simply do not wish to see a species that is, how to word this politely, less durable encounter them.
With the captain's permission and Sulak's permission, of course, I would be interested in learning more about the gene therapy that you demonstrated.
Oh, you mean, yeah, yes. The gene manipulation that I used on that poor ensign.
She was able to save him.
Oh, he was in no danger. He was simply becoming something else. Something more. I'm sure the doctor can appreciate something like that.
I already expressed an interest in finding out more about that manipulation technique.
I will be absolutely elated to show you this technology.
Be cautious, Doctor. And I would still like all information and data shared to be limited, no direct access to the computer.
It was not my intention to share any of our own medical data, only to collect what our guest would be willing to share of a particularly perhaps useful medical technique.
I understand, Doctor. I'm just wanting to recaution you.
All right.
She's going to totally just be like, I'm going to go back to my ready room. I'm going to finish reading all the data from when the solar panels opened so that I can understand what the computer picked up. Roll some dice. She's just going to...
I'm just gonna get out of here.
Drink, yes.
Okay, so Captain, heading back to the ready room. Lieutenant Sulak, where are you heading at this point?
At this point, I'm going to be heading back up to the bridge because I have calibrations to perform.
Beautiful. And Doctor, where are you heading off to?
There was heading off. I was going to pull up a chair, have a conversation.
I love it. All right, you drag a chair up and you're getting ready to do your thing.
Doctor's on a first date with a changeling through a
Now that's romance. All right, we are going to cut over to the planet's surface.
Yay.
Now, Commander Jax, you have expertly flown Tyr down to the surface. You've got a very primo landing spot. But as you're coming through, like heading towards the planet, let's start there. Now, one thing you noticed when you first did Amathi noticed when he first did scans of the planet was that there was no Higgs boson field. So when you approach the planet, you are surprised to find that this is a very sophisticated illusion that you just passed through. Once through it, you see that the planet, completely normal planet. They're just projecting that there is no field around it. Now, the ship lands and you're able to get out. Atmosphere is completely hospitable to human life, Cation life, Trill life. You all can breathe just fine. So, what are the three of you doing?
I would like a clarification here. When you say that it was an illusion, when we passed through, like, is there any other features? Like, it was an illusion, so what are the features once we pass through the illusion? Is it a mechanical world? Is it a like a normal forested and multi biome world? What does it actually look like once we get past the illusion?
That is a very, very, very good question. As you get close enough to actually like visually see and oh, hold on. Boop. Gotta bring back our tactical officer here. As you pass through, you see that, and you get on the sensors that it's more like a high plains kind of dry, not exactly arid like desert, but it's very rocky. Lots of outcroppings, like red rocks meets, dry grass.
Any signs of civilization?
So there are very small, like nomadic style towns. Small clusters of tents here and there that are all located in very close proximity to the solar arrays.
I'm sorry, just the face that he made when you said, and then the solar arrays are.
Are there any signals coming from these camps? Anything to indicate more advanced technology?
Negative. They are very, very primitive.
Okay. Are there any solar panels that doesn't have a town next to it?
There are not.
Okay, we'll have to back off. I mean, there is no indication that the culture here is ready for first contact. So if we can't examine, we'll get sensor readings from a distance that we can maintain, but there's no way we can approach those without violating Prime Directive. So
Are they capable of communication with us?
there's no signals, so
Well, actually, if these solar flare things are open, we should, and now that we're closer, we should do a scan to see if there are any like communication signals, and maybe even send out the standard one. I believe there's a standard one for these sorts of unknown high advanced civilization scenarios.
Amafi will look over at Galen, and he said, and basically looking to you, storyteller, are there any neutrino emissions coming from the planet? And the reason why I ask is that neutrino emissions are the primary source to know whether or not if a culture actually has reached warp potential. And I'm not looking at the actual primitive encampments. I'm actually looking at the where these solar arrays are coming from, because we're detecting that below the solar arrays that there are billions of inhabitants that are living beneath the surface of the planet. So that's where Amafi is concentrating his scans to basically look for that. And if there is, then things just got a hell of a lot more complicated.
So the solar arrays, after being closer and getting a little bit better of a scan on them, you see that they are receivers only, but they are drawing in massive amounts of power and shunting it down into the planet.
yeah. Okay, but is there any technological traces to indicate this is a even near warp culture? Subspace, neutrino emissions, anything?
Let's see. Oh, okay. All right. So from deep below the Earth's or the surface of the planet, you are actually picking up neutrinos as well as brief momentary power surges indicative of a warp core.
Okay. Let's get distant enough that we can back off and report to the captain what we found and see if she wants us to proceed.
Is there any kind of communication signals or anything like that that's detectable coming through the crust or anything like that?
No.
Okay. I will yield to Jackson. He's in charge of this. So.
Yeah, I will notify. I'm assuming that the illusion is blocking communication with the ship. Is it?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
But you easily pass just beyond it, and you regain communication with the ship easily.
All right. Runabout tier to Captain.
This is the captain. Report.
This place is getting weirder and weirder. The planet isn't what it appears. We're getting everything we picked up on our sensors was an illusion, a projected image.
That would also be some pretty advanced technology to project an illusion like that.
Yeah.
That's also giving us data like that.
Yeah. We did detect signs of warp core beneath the surface. Unfortunately, the people on the surface aren't generating any signals. They don't. I mean, the entire illusion of the civilization that was there, I don't know. But do you want me to make the approach?
One moment. Storyteller.
Yes.
Is there any way for us to predict or tell when there's going to be another flare?
Yeah, it's seems to be following a pretty standard timeline, so you're able to kind of pinpoint when they're going to happen.
Commander, during the next solar flare, when the panels activate, since you're closer, can y'all at least establish if the life signs, if it's the same people, if they're biologically the same people? If they are, regardless of how their surface representatives are living, we can attempt to make contact.
Very well, Captain. We'll do our best. Communication's blocked by the illusion around the planet, so we may have to make some decisions on the fly, but
That's fine. Feel free to get as close as you deem appropriate to get the information we need. But as soon as you've either made contact or at least established that we are not dealing with an entirely pre-warp race or two different races.
I don't see any signs of the culture we were seeing on our sensors. I think our plague may also be an illusion.
Continue scanning to establish that as well. That would be one less thing.
All right. Jack's out.
All right.
I'm in a ship.
Yeah. I didn't think about that earlier.
Amafi just kind of immediately starts to kind of not like rapid fire questions, but just kind of posits a few questions. He's just like, okay, I have like so many questions here. I need somebody to spin some theories off of here. But one, why would you create an entire illusion around the planet of basically a pre-warp civilization that's dying of a plague as a means to hide yourself? Wouldn't they expect other species to have some modicum of like emotional intelligence and thus for compassion, and would want to actually check on and try to help a species that very well might be on its way out for dying? Two, what the? And he will just like that's where he kind of starts things at with this.
Daphne will basically hold up her hand before he keeps going and goes, "Okay, let's one thing at a time." Amafi.
Yeah. First off, that's an assumption about the culture of the people who created this. They may not have that same level of empathy, for one. They may think of it as a threat display, something that people wouldn't approach because it's dangerous.
Or they're hiding from someone and they think that a plague on the planet might be doing it, or might be enough to scare whatever it is that they're hiding from away. Something this elaborate. This just screams, we don't want to be found. And if there's billions of people beneath the crust of this planet, like we were reading, then they definitely never want to be found. I mean, depending on their level of technology, if they can hide a planet, what if they're doing the same thing to the sun just to make us think it's going to explode? Because any other species or group might come into the system, see this planet, look at that sun, and go, we just need to go because there's too many dangers here.
Well, I would say that this is an illusion that would perfectly be tuned to make Starfleet go away. Because we would normally take a look at a planet of pre-warp civilization, realize that we, by our own laws, can't help them, and didn't want to sit around and watch them die. We'd drop a buoy with sensors and leave because we don't like watching people die, even though we allow it to happen.
I mean, I agree with you, but this seems like stacking like way too much on top of each other. Like a red giant that's about ready to blow on top of a planet that's dying of a plague. Like it seems, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I agree with you. It seems like it's like almost designed to keep us at bay. But it also makes me insanely curious because there's way too much going on. It's like they went way too elaborate with it. Does that make sense? Or am I the only one that's actually currently feeling this?
No, you're not wrong. I think that there's definitely some aspects we're not seeing.
I think the captain might be onto something, and that the next time the solar flare happens and the things open and we can actually get the reading of the people beneath the surface, it might be worth seeing if it matches anything we have in the database. Because, yeah, there's just way too much here, and at the very least, we can manage that without. And if we want to get really spicy, now I know you're probably not going to like this, Commander, just from previous things, but if the panel's open and there's enough room for either the shuttle to dart in or us to transport into there, that might also be an option, and we get around the whole surface issue.
That's a possibility. Very dangerous, though. We don't know what the levels of energy in the conduits would be. Might cause problems with any transporter signal.
Yep.
I mean, it's worth considering, but be ready for it to not be a good idea.
Oh, no, absolutely. I am absolutely all for it not being a great idea. I already do not like being off the ship. However, I also, I won't finish that thought. That's better if I don't finish that thought. But at least we know what to scan for now in totality the next time this damn thing was open. Because we've got some time, according to the calculations on the star, if those are even right. I don't know if I want to get close enough to the sun to figure out if that's just a fucking illusion or not. to be perfectly frank and honest. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll wait for the next solar flare and scanning, trying to figure out how the illusion works.
All right.
Actually, yeah, that's definitely what Amafi is going to be working on. Is essentially he wants to understand how the illusion works, and then basically going over the scans that he probably has with him of the red giant. He wants to see whether or not if the actual red giant is also basically experiencing that. And actually, no, wait a second. I don't even have to do that. Maybe. Based on what we're currently seeing through the sensors right now about this planet, does it appear like that this planet is currently underneath the effects of the same type of solar radiation, light exposure, and everything else that would be associated with a red giant star? Like,
It
just
does.
now that we're past the illusion. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So go ahead and anybody that's like scanning and things like that, do a reason in science. And we'll see what kind of information we can get. Now, while y'all are rolling that and getting ready for that next solar flare, Doctor, you've been having a wonderful, well, Udo feels like it's been a wonderful conversation. You are like a sponge to him, just taking in all of this knowledge that he has about various species and things like that. And most notably, the breakdown of how to make the hypospray that can alter someone's genetic base material. So, Doctor, if I may be so bold, what application do you think this could have?
Well, at the present moment, knowing exactly how you go about creating it means that I can formulate a less painful therapy for reversing the matter should we run into it again.
Interesting. I cannot say that isn't a possibility. I like your forethought on this. For a moment, I thought maybe you would be humoring the idea that you'd be able to, forgive my crassness, make yourself a little less Borg. I mean, clearly the Federation has done a wonderful job at taking all of that away and basically resetting you back to, what, factory default settings of Vulcan, is it?
There were attempts made. The modifications that I endured make me more effective in my duties, not less.
Interesting. I actually find that quite fascinating. I should like to know more about how this makes you more effective. I mean, is it not understood that Vulcans have already achieved intellectual enlightenment?
They would certainly like to believe that they are the pinnacle of intellectual enlightenment, yes.
I notice that you say they. Do you not consider yourself a Vulcan?
While decrying it in others, it is commonplace for there to be a certain amount of upset when one modifies one's Vulcan structure. Since I was uninterested in completely reversing the modifications that were engendered, there are those that would consider that I am no longer purely what I was.
I see. Interesting that a Vulcan society would consider someone who is more Vulcan a problem, I guess is the way I would word it. As a changeling, I can say I do understand and empathize with that look of fear that people give you, that distrust. They never fully see you for who you once were ever again. You'll always, in some way, remind them of the enemy.
Were you able to do any research on this vessel before you were smuggled aboard?
No, unfortunately. I entered into I was placed on DS9 48 hours or so before your ship left. It was actually quite challenging to get on board without anyone noticing.
I suppose it would be useless to ask how it was accomplished.
Oh, no. I would be more than happy to share with you, Doctor. I feel probably our greatest strength is in our difference to the rest of the crew. I feel relaxed with you. I feel like I can share. And to be honest, I feel like it was more of a stroke of luck that the tactical officers that were in charge that fateful evening were very, very eager to try Romulan whiskey.
Well, that is unfortunate. And here I was worried about a structural weakness rather than humanoid frailty.
Indeed, structural weakness would be far simpler to tackle, wouldn't it?
Generally speaking.
Doctor, if I may, if you feel so inclined, would you mind telling me what it was like to be part of the Borg Collective?
I'm not certain I could explain it appropriately.
I know that when we changelings return to our home, it is kind of hard to explain, isn't it? It's like all of you are thousands of voices and yet one in the same. A sense of individuality, but also community.
Individuality is commonly lacking for drones in the collective.
That to me seems like a tragedy.
I imagine to most species for whom individuality is a value that they
Well, for what it's worth, Doctor, in our conversation, I have come to realize that you are one incredible individual.
You will forgive me if this seems disingenuous on your part.
Of course. As I told your captain earlier, though, actions will always speak louder than words. I look forward to working with you, Doctor. I think you and I are going to achieve many great things.
That seems a rather hopeful assessment from your current position.
Perhaps in the future, we can change my current position.
It's apparently an immutable endeavor.
I know that chat can't see what's going on in the StreamYard chat, but it is quite hilarious. Doctor, if you'll excuse me, I must enter my regeneration cycle.
You recovered quickly.
I suppose it is because of the changelings I am younger.
This makes sense from what I know. It also means you must enter the regeneration cycle more often.
A sad fact, yes. I do look forward to speaking with you again, Doctor. Perhaps tomorrow?
With permission, yours as well as my captain's.
I look forward to that, Doctor. And he does the, Rainbow Bridge mold back into his little bucket. So what does the doctor do now?
She's gonna turn around and
Swoon.
go back to medical. Squirrel.
All right, sounds great. Now, the rest of the away team, as you're doing your scans, a flare begins to build. And as it does, the solar arrays on the surface begin to open up slowly through being closer and doing the scans that you are doing. They open as if they are like flower bulbs. They do have a lot of like flower-like qualities, but there are conduits and circuitry that run down the leaves and into the ground and the roots. Once it begins taking in the solar energy, that is when cracks begin to form around the base of it, allowing you to get scans of the life forms below.
Amathi, can you confirm that the life forms below match the ones that are on the surface?
I'm in Commander Galen. I got a 1 and a 9 on my roll, which is well below my totals.
Yeehaw! All right, so here is what you got. In the position that you're in, getting a little bit better of a view, quote unquote, the creatures that live on the surface, they are very gaunt, very tall, roughly 9 feet. 4-armed, blue-skinned creatures. They have lesions all over their bodies. They definitely are reading as some sort of bubonic-esque plague. The minute that the flowers begin to open, they begin running from the tents to the flowers and begin tending to them. The sensors that you get from those below are very, very similar. There is no plague. The creatures are much more hardy. They're not as gaunt as those on the surface, and their skin is a much darker shade of blue.
Is there a window for transport? Can we transport down
Absolutely.
into the interior?
Yes, absolutely. You can do that.
Okay. And is there a safe place to park the ship?
Space? Yeah, I'll say that there's a nice quiet spot that you can hide.
Okay. All right. I'll program a beacon on the shuttle to launch outside of the illusion after 6 hours with update on where we parked, all the sensor data that we have, and my intention to go into the interior before we transport down.
Okay. With all of that set and done, you transport down, and you find yourselves in what can only be described as the interior of a gigantic ship. Very, very similar to a Borg sphere.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah.
No.
To be clear, we are armed with
Yes.
normal personal phasers and
Standard away mission accoutrement.
yeah. All right. Do a quick sensor sweep in the interior, get everything you can, and then we're going to beam back out in a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Because Davin's now really concerned. Why does this look like Borg architecture? So her scans are focused on.
I think it's
this.
Borg-like. I think it's more along the lines of actual sizing. I don't think it's actual Borg tech.
Right.
Is what that is referring to.
It is a planet-sized ship that is a sphere in shape. It does have it does have that, like, you know how on a Borg ship it has a lot of the green glowing and things like that. This has more of like a sky blue. It's almost like very relaxing.
Or Cherenkov radiation. But yeah.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Oh, like the engineer hasn't already had cancer because of proximity to the warp core a few times. We've solved that by now.
If you would stop licking the warp core.
Hey, I don't lick the warp core all the time.
Yeah, no,
She
Mafi
needs a
pulls out his
few radium.
tricorder and he's doing a full gamut of scans. He is scanning and as whatever he can get on the tricorder, he's going for it all.
Yeah, Davin's doing about the same.
All right. We'll say that it only takes you at most 10 minutes to just scan down everything you possibly can. You don't encounter any life forms. I mean, this is a gigantic ship, so it could possibly be hours or even days before somebody even came to this part. So with everything that you gather, you are now able to transport back out if you would like to.
Yeah, I'll trigger through the communicator the recall on the transporter to transport us back to the ship.
It's
Awesome.
a shuttle.
Yes, it is. You transport back to the shuttle, and everybody is safe and sound, and you are able to head back to the ship if that is the route you wish to take.
We're definitely outside the illusion, so we can communicate. And I cancel the probe, the beacon launch. That was a security in case we didn't come back.
All right. So you get outside of the illusion. You get back to the ship. No problems. Everything. Keep it together. I really wish the viewers could see what is happening right now. Apparently, there's a thing called Borg Light, Diet Borg, Borg Zero. All because of the blue lights. Wonderful.
No, it's because all the assimilation with only half the calories.
That was a brilliant one. That one got me. That got me good. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Sulak. Chef's kiss. You are now free to begin analyzing all the data that you retrieved from the Diet Borg Dyson Sphere. And that is where we are actually going to end the episode for this evening. And when we pick it back up, you all will have all the information you could possibly need on this lovely, strange planet. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Thank you to these amazing cast of crew players. You all are awesome. Thank you all very much. We'll see you not next Friday, the Friday after, for the continuation of Star Trek Kvasir. Thank you. Bye. Okay, bye.